Isolated and annihilated. After sheltering for a day and night, finally a chance for locals to see Debbie's work.
Yeah, look at Pine Transfer as well. Holy.
Proserpine was amongst the hardest hit towns, copping the full brunt of Debbie's destruction.
It was horrific. It was so scary.
There was things flying from the back through the front and we had to sit in the lounge room under a table.
I didn't probably fully get completely freaked out till my roof disappeared as well.
Roofs, fences and power lines didn't stand a chance.
There's trees flying around, branches, tin.
Basically the whole time I was just praying it would stop.
The roof of the plumbing shop took out the bottle-o across the road.
It's been devastating.
Generators will soon be brought in to the town to repower the local supermarket. The fresh food will arrive soon.
We don't have much food left and we're trying to stop eating it all.
For the recovery crews coming from the north, the effort to get there was Herculean. Flooded roads with downed power lines weren't the only obstacles. Abandoned cars littering the treacherous route.
We've got two of our swift water technicians out there at the moment. They're assessing there's 2 vehicles that are submerged in the water out there, so they're just making sure that there is no one left in those vehicles.
Farmers lent a hand for the sake of others, despite their own livelihoods being destroyed.
It gets blown over and then back, and so as you can see, it's broken off, and so it's going to really impact the tonnage and the sugar this year. Not good.
Not even a sugarcane train could stop them. With help now arriving, attention turns to the rebuild.
They'll right themselves. You know, we're pretty amazing sort of little community.
Rob Morrison joins us now. Rob, what are the priorities then for emergency workers?
Well, with this storm now hitting us here in Proserpine, the biggest job is making sure the buildings that were already damaged by Cyclone Debbie are safe. You can actually see the roof of the motel here. It's been peeled back as if by a can opener. Just take a look at the rooms over here. They don't have roofs at all, and there's plenty of trees all over the ground, and that is the case right across Proserpine, which looks every bit like a disaster zone. There's also a lot of wires on the ground here, so that is what emergency services are going to be having to contend with for the next few days. And let's not forget, people who haven't been without power since the cyclone hit, and they're likely to be without power for a few days to come, and we know that only a few of them, most of them only had food for just a few days. So help has arrived, but Proserpine still has a long way to go here, guys.
We're bracing for the worst tomorrow morning with a peak of 9 metres. And now there are new threats lurking on the streets. We begin our coverage with Rob Morrison at Depot Hill.
It's been an agonising wait, but now the flooding of the Fitzroy is swallowing Depot Hill's way of life.
This is a disaster. We have been declared. It is a major flood.
And if it's any higher, we'll just stay out. We won't go back home.
Boats are replacing cars on dirty, flowing brown streets. Streets that now harbour new threats.
I don't want to be wading through too deep water because, you know, you've got the danger of wildlife, you know, crocodiles, snakes, things like that. Houses become these islands for, you know, wildlife looking to seek shelter.
I come across a snake this morning. I believe it was a taipan. He was probably 1 metre long and he wasn't real happy. And then not long after him, a dirty big huntsman, that size of a small dinner plate.
And by the hour, the rising flood claims more homes.
Particularly we're concerned about those 213 odd homes that will have water above the floorboards.
You can see here in this home, the floor is starting to rise up as these murky, potentially snake and croc infested waters start to get underneath it. So much is being said about the relaxed nature of the people who live here in Depot Hill, but this is their reality. They've had to flee their homes in the face of this natural disaster. We were given the keys to this home by owner Lisa Capewell when we visited her on Sunday. She packed up and left town, so she wanted us to show her what we found.
Wow, yeah, it's rising pretty quick, isn't it? It definitely will go in, Rob. I can see that it will go through the house.
I'm just going to start to show you the floor there.
I'm just hoping it doesn't go too high. Pretty emotional, but like I have to keep trooping on and deal with it, I suppose. There's not much I can do. It'll be devastating, but like I said, I'm lucky that I had the opportunity to get everything out.
Lisa and Depot Hill were ready for this flood, but like any natural disaster, there's no way of knowing what could happen. And when it hits, it still hurts.
I love that little cottage. It's my little cherished home.
Rob joins me from just outside Depot Hill. Rob, what time exactly will the Fitzroy peak?
Well, we're expecting that peak now to hit at midday tomorrow. Right now, the flooding level is at around 8.4 metres. So whether or not it reaches that 9 metre mark tomorrow, we'll have to wait and see. But just to give you a bit of an idea of how expansive these floodwaters are, we've actually come out to a farm. It's not too deep here, but you can see out there is a home. It's now completely isolated. There is at least water around it in every direction, and we're seeing this right around Rockhampton at the moment. We do know these waters are continuing to rise, so we're going to see a lot more situations like Lisa. So for a lot of people in those low-lying suburbs, it's going to be a sleepless night, Melissa.
Queensland is watching the #1 news hour.